Hello, podcast lovers. Thank you so much for coming back. I am your host, Žana. This is going to be an exciting another episode of R&R Resilience in Rebirth, and I'm so extremely excited to talk to Desi today. Me and Desi, we connected over LinkedIn. It was, according to her, and I quote her, divinely guided that we have met. And I want to just take that on and really agree to that because Desi and I, we had several private conversations. And Desi, I'm so happy that you're here. You're so extremely such a busy person, and I'm so grateful that you're taking time today to be here and my guest and sharing your wisdom and a conversation that we're going to dive into. Hi.
Yeah, it's my honor to be here and share and have a fun conversation.
Yes, agreed. And I remember when we first started to talk, right? We had so many synergies, and especially one really big one was when we connected on when we explored the term imposter syndrome. And since you are an entrepreneur and since you are a mom and since you are a wife as well, you carry so many hats that sometimes I don't want to call it's a burden, but it does become kind of like an extra responsibility, somewhat of a job. And so for me, when I heard your story, when you shared, for me, it was very fascinating how you and I know you're extremely busy. Maybe the people out there don't know, but I know that your business is thriving and you're very extremely limited on time. But how do you feel when I bring up that word imposter syndrome? Like I want to go a little bit back, not only what you feel about that term, but also obviously give the audience a little bit of an idea of like who is Desi and how did that word imposter syndrome really have an effect on your life or in your own business? Or how did you actually really come to terms with understanding that you are very a successful entrepreneur, but you are still a mom and you
Right.
still have home responsibilities? And so yeah, I mean, we can go as deep as you like. We can stay as upper surface as you prefer, so I'm just going to give the
Yeah.
mic up to you and let you dive in and see where you start. But like that will be very interesting for me to kind of like dive into.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it really is a great topic. And I think it's something that a lot of us struggle with,
Mm.
even if you don't voice it, right? Internally, you're struggling with it. And imposter syndrome for me, it's that voice in your head that's saying, who am I to do this? Who am I to do this? Even if I've done it 100 times already, right?
Right.
Right. And for me, it's not a lack of skill. It's about disconnecting from my worth.
Mm.
And sometimes that shows up as over prepping, shows up as perfectionism, it shows up as people pleasing, apologizing for taking up space, right? Um, when in reality, you need to own that to come over imposter syndrome, and it's a hurdle. It's a hurdle to
Mhm.
get over it.
Yeah. And it's so fascinating that you just said, disconnecting from my worth and also owning it. And so, obviously, my first question would be if I'm maybe somebody that is understanding lightly that I have this type of situation going on with me, how do I really own it in a sense where it doesn't affect me emotionally or even mentally or spiritually? How do I maybe go about first of all even understanding that I am dealing with imposter syndromes? Like what are in your world terms where, for instance, you in your own world, when you went through this experience, or when you work with specific clients around you, what are specific, kind of like marks that you would say, like, oh, okay, this could be we're tapping into the family of imposter syndrome, just for people to understand, because I feel like our vocabulary is so different. Each human, connects so differently with different vocabularies. And sometimes one thing in my vocabulary and my world could mean the complete opposite what it would mean in your world, right?
Right.
And so, yeah.
Yeah, no, you bring up great points, and it is very true. We see that across languages too, right? One
Right.
thing in English is going to mean something entirely different in Spanish
Right.
or German, or take your pick, right? Um and I think for me, it comes on the heels of doing really, really deep personal growth work. I got really brutally honest with myself.
Mhm.
And I think it takes a sort of dedication and a motivation to overcome it in order to beat it.
Mm.
Now, for me, when I feel myself coming up against imposter syndrome, it's, you know, I have these little mantras that I'll just repeat over in my head until it's, gone, right? You are worth it. You are enough. There is no one else but you, right? And no one else but you is a little bit interesting because what that really means is there was no one else that can do what you do and show
Mm.
up the way that you show up, right? And I think incorporating that after you've done the personal growth work is a tool that you can use and call back on when you hit those points, right? Because life happens.
Yeah.
Imposter syndrome will rear its head. Um and for me, success in life and success in business, it doesn't quiet the imposter voice, right? In some ways it gets louder when the stakes are higher, right?
Yeah.
Um and I mean balancing family and running the business, it makes me feel like I'm always behind and oftentimes failing at both, right? And that's what imposter syndrome does. It's your subconscious trying to protect you.
Mm. Mm. So when we talk about right now, because what it's, I mean, I don't know if it's safe to say, but like when you say the mantras, right, which is very such a golden nugget to just speak out maybe an idea or a plan of somebody that really is battling with this, or just the idea of like, I am not enough worth on any kind of level, right? Is it safe to say that when we use these mantras, when we constantly like, because to me, I remember when I started using affirmation and I would speak to myself in the mirror, or I would have like little sticky notes all over my house, and I'm not kidding you, they would be literally all over. It felt like a lie at the beginning. It
Mm-hmm.
felt like a lie, me telling myself that I am worth, that I am guided, that that I honestly love myself. Because at that part, when I started to do these things, I had no idea what self-love even is. And it felt
Right.
very awkward for me to even tell myself such thing because I didn't even know how to receive self-love to love myself. And like it was very different.
Yeah.
It felt like, okay, I'm lying to myself, yet I spoke out verbally the mantra, but this my head was telling me, oh my god, that's such bullcrap what you're doing right here. Look at yourself. Like, why are you even trying to convince yourself of
Right.
something that will never ever be, you know and so I'm wondering if imposter syndrome is somewhat like a bridge connected to true self respect and knowing how to really stay within your own self and in your own being. Like, I wonder if we manage and if we master to have that level done, just really staying within and understanding how much worth we really have to ourselves, regardless who's saying what to us or what client is coming in our boat and bringing us this huge amazing check, or what neighbor is telling us something kind. I feel like none of that mattered to me. Like, I mean,
Right.
yes, it mattered. It felt good for that brief moment, but it was almost just like a band-aid over a wound. It didn't help long term. It was just in that second, it felt good, but I had to believe it for myself. And I really loved when you brought up that point, like you really gotta believe it in your own self to
Right.
understand what that even means. And
Right.
so, what would you say? Is it safe to say that imposter syndrome is almost kind of like, combined and coupled with the idea of really loving yourself or
Yeah.
respecting yourself?
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think, that's like 99.9% of overcoming imposter syndrome, because everything is generated by our subconscious, right? And we touched on something, and I totally lost my train of thought because I got sucked into what you were saying. However, it's really, really important. Oh, one thing that I live by is what you speak about comes about. So when you say it out loud, it will manifest. It may take some time, but keep speaking it, right? And watch it come about. And it's very interesting when you do that to see how it comes about. Because oftentimes it's in the most unexpected ways, right? And I think for imposter syndrome, I love the sticky notes. Sticky notes are a great idea. And I would say, I invite everyone who's listening to create your own mantras to come over imposter syndrome. Know your worth, know your value, and don't let anyone tell you different, including yourself.
Right. That part.
Right.
I think that's really that part. I think it's really that's the biggest, in a sense, negative point of it all. You know what I mean? Like it's really what we create in our head, and that really is also shows you how powerful your mind really is. Like if you sit there and you tell yourself all these things, and I want to say it was somebody, and I unfortunately forgot his name. I know it was a man who one time said, a very wise man, and he said, no matter if you believe that you are right or wrong, you are right in either way. If you say you can do it, you can. But if you say you cannot, then you cannot. Like, in a sense, the choice is really yours, right? But I think that was really my biggest hurdle to overcome, because in my logical mind I was like, okay, obviously I don't want to feel like I don't matter. Obviously I don't want to feel like that I have no self-worth. I want to feel like I am the queen and I am the everything to myself. But how do I get there mentally when all those things are popping in? And now I'm inviting the outside world of like, well, this isn't going right, and that isn't working out, and this relationship failed, and that friend of mine tells me she doesn't want to be a friend with me anymore. And it's like those things where I was like, how do I challenge myself to really get out of those thinking, out of those thought patterns? How do I really do that? And I wish I would have had somebody like you in this moment, or that just told me about the sticky notes or whatever, because it was, I mean, it was such a long way for me to really learn about this. And many, I feel like in that time, many decisions that I have made were just so bad. I mean, in a sense, they turned out so bad because I simply didn't know really actually what I was worth. And I would always, in a sense, sell myself short, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's easy to fall back into it.
Right.
It takes a lot of dedication to maintain staying out of it, right? Because our subconsciouses, they have homeostasis. They want to return you back to a state of normal.
Right.
And until you change that homeostasis, which is a long process,
Yeah.
you're going to revert back. I mean, habit building is built on the same premise, right? You keep doing one small thing until you're repeatedly doing it without even thinking about it, oftentimes, right? Because that is a habit. And it's the same thing internally. You have to be vigilant, and you have to be willing to stay with the processes that you create for yourself around breaking it, right? I know for me, what helped me break my cycle is when I stopped trying to prove that I was enough and believing that I already was.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds so simple, Desi.
It
Doesn't it right now,
does.
looking back, doesn't this sound so simple, but really in that moment, it's like, wait, how do I do that again? Tell me again. What's
Right.
the mantra?
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's now that we know what we know, it
Mm-hmm.
sounds super easy, but the thing is, it's not. It's not
No.
easy, it's hard, right? One thing that I found that has helped, because this is actually something I teach my clients as well, is creating a power statement along with your mantras. And that tends to change the game. And a power statement, you start it with, I am someone who. And you do a power statement. Make it as powerful as you can, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I filled in that blank with truth, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got to be honest,
Mm-hmm.
because if you're not honest, you're going to be in misalignment with yourself, and that's nothing's going to change.
Right. And then
Right.
also you're just gonna, and then also on top of that, you're gonna attract energies that are just coming to you because of that mask or that version, that persona that you're putting up there. So if you're not really honest with yourself, all you do is you just create more of the unrealness around you, even though that's
Right.
internally not at all what you want to do. But it's really, really, really challenging to be honest with yourself and really tell
It
yourself,
is.
like, you know what, I suck at that. This is something I can't do at all. And I have
Right.
to get better. I don't know how. And I really don't want to because it means I have to work at it. But like, this is a part that really sucks for me, you
Right.
know?
I see it all the time in business owners that are struggling with imposter syndrome, right? They're trying to be somebody else
Right.
and emulating those that are really successful.
Mm-hmm.
And what I have found through 8 years of supporting people is that when you're trying to be someone else, you can't be authentically you, right? And when you're not authentically you, you're out of alignment, you're not able to grow, and you constantly feel like you're faking it. You know, you hear that phrase, you fake it until you make it. Don't do that. Don't do that. Just be you. Show up and be powerful. Own the room.
Yeah. I
One of the mantras that I have is you are safe to be seen. Let yourself be seen, right?
right. Yeah. I really also love the mantra that you said. And can you please repeat it again? That power statement. How does it start, the power statement?
I am someone who,
I'm someone who I like to add to that and like to say, I know how it feels when, whatever. Like I know how this feels, you know, because it's I feel like it's really starting to, with those things, kind of like you pumping up yourself and you know, kind of like, and you can call it whatever. I call it in my world back in the days, I'm lying to myself, but you know what, it worked anyway. So whatever people want to call it, but like I feel like, you know, just that part of trust, you know, somebody that this I really valued about this person, and she once said to me, she's like, just trust your life, you
mm,
know, just literally trust your life. And that statement stuck with me till today, you know. And now obviously I added certain things like I trust my future, I trust my life, you know, I trust myself, I trust my intuition. So, and you can do all those additions or whatever, but like trust your life. Just trust that what you have been given and the abilities that you are with all your flaws. And I feel like that's sometimes the hardest thing, to just really also be like, you know what? I suck at this, but you know what? I love myself anyway through it. Like,
right,
I'm okay to suck at this because I don't need to be perfect, yet I'm willing to learn and to master specific characteristics or specific things on me that I really truly don't like, but
right,
it's okay that I still suck. You know what I
right.
mean? Like always that green path of like nothing has to be changed in one day to the other. Like, because I feel like back in the days I would pressure myself so much of like, oh my God, I did it again. I behaved again that way. I
Hmm.
acted again this way, you know, my character that I wanted to change, parts of that again came out. And I'm like, and
Right,
I would punish myself so badly internally that I would really waste so much time on punishing internally myself by you know, not speaking kindly to myself and not being kind to myself in a sense in my mind, instead of just saying, okay, this was a mess up, this sucked, let me do damage control and let me try it again, right? So investing energy and just like, get up and do it again kind of attitude.
Right. Right. Yeah, yeah, no, exactly. I mean, you hit the nail on the head with the flaws, and it's something I was going to bring up and when it came about, but you beat me to it, right? The flaws, yeah, you gotta love your flaws, and if you don't love your
Mm,
flaws and you really can't live with them, then change them.
mm,
You
mm,
have that power to, right? Um, Oftentimes what I will do is I will surround myself with people who reflect back the truth when I forget it,
mm,
right? And
mhm,
you'll hear this a lot too. It goes around, but you are the sum of the 5 people you hang around the most, right? Now that can be influence, income, all sorts of different things. For
right.
me, it's also the spiritual aspect, the energetic aspect of it, of who I surround myself with. And I am very selective with who I surround myself with.
Hmm.
Because if you know human design, I'm a generator, and that means I suck up the energies of people around me. And if there
Hmm.
are negative energies, then I am going to feel all that. If they're really super positive energies, I'm going to feel all that too. But it's a higher vibrational frequency that I can
Right.
actually operate and function on. The
Right.
negativity, I can't, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I have to be very careful to protect myself because I
Hmm.
know my worth,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah. 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 I resonate with that because especially when we talk about human design, I'm a projector. And so, for me, I understand exactly what that means. And, projectors are very rare. I think it's
Right,
only 10 or 20% globally. And so, for me, it it's really about needing to get an invitation to either, voice my idea or be invited even on a date or something. And obviously I didn't know about this. And so my entire life I did exactly the opposite.
right,
And so I felt the riff of it, and then when I started to learn about human design and I also understood about myself when my mom had passed that I'm actually a natural born empath, which really also resonate with you when you said that you pick up those energies, no matter if good or bad. For
right,
me, even it goes on another level that when I would enter a room, I would all of a sudden feel somebody's headache or shoulder pain or irritation. And then I would leave that room feeling all those symptoms.
right,
And so that's why when you say selective energy, I think it really doesn't matter if you are in the realm of human design or energy or not. I think like just really being selective of what you really invite into your circle and invite into your business or into your life. I think it's very good start to understand actually your worth. And this isn't to say like, oh, I'm better than you and I'm not going to whatever. This isn't about that at all. I feel like this is really about you understanding your own needs the most and then you operating on that versus being a people pleaser, being somebody that is like, oh yeah, I'm all the time here, I'm all the way to help you, and I take any client on, and it's no problem at all. Yet you're like feeling drained after,
right,
collaborating with them or after being in a room or for coffee or whatever. And so, for me, it's also like when we talk about, the environmental stuff, do you think that that plays a big role? Like environment, like your own environment where you are, not necessarily where you grow up, because I feel like you can't really change that somehow, not at the beginning, but like the environment you chose, like the city you live in, the place you rent, the place you buy, the friends you pick, or whatever.
yeah, absolutely. I think environment plays a big role
Yeah.
in it. And when we're younger, we get put into situations where we're surrounding ourselves with people who we may not have a choice to be around, right? And I think that leaves imprints in the
Mm,
subconscious of, no, we're not going to go into situations like this because we felt this way and I really felt uncomfortable, right? It's the body's way of saying, no, if you go that way, you're going to die, right? That's what homeostasis is keeping you out of death.
mm,
And I think for me, I grew up in California, and that was a really negative environment for me to be around. I didn't have my personal growth through work until I was able to move away and have the space and the freedom and the bandwidth to do it.
Mhm. Wow.
Right? Because especially if you live in a big city, it's harder because you're surrounded, right? I live in the country now. It's super easy for me to go and find peace. And I sought that out, right? I
Yeah.
don't settle for something. Change the situation. Um, I look
Yeah.
I look at it as when imposter syndrome rears its head, and it does from time to time, when you're on a big stage, right? When I'm on a big stage, I'm like, who am I to be here? Right?
Yeah.
And then you have to go through your mantras and then you get up on stage and you rock it out, right? But for me, when it rears its head, it means that I'm standing on the edge of my next expansion.
Mm.
I look at it as a growth opportunity now, not
Mhm.
something that's holding me back.
Mm.
And I think that's an important distinction because a lot of people look at imposter syndrome as something that is negative. But I would invite you to start looking at things on how they're a blessing, right? Because imposter syndrome is there to show you where you can grow.
Wow. So basically you're saying, and it's a invitation to your soul leveling up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
I've never looked at it that way. I think that's such a wonderful way of turning something, kind of like making your poison and turning it into a medicine.
Yeah.
I love that.
I know for me when I was first going through and breaking through this stuff, I had to come back to my soul,
Hmm.
right? My imposter syndrome, it's not just mental. It for me, it was really spiritual misalignment. I was not aligned with who I was supposed to be, right? And supposed to be, quote unquote, is what you make it to be, right? I had a path over here that I had laid out, but I was going over here, right? Is a big spiritual misalignment there. And for me, manifestation of that spiritual side reminded me, like I said at the beginning, what you speak about comes about.
Hmm.
I needed I needed to really sit with and rewrite the narrative that I was telling myself. Now I reframe everything in the positive, which it amplifies as I continue on because I'm building on that habit, right? So now when life happens, which it's going to, right? I have tools and I have resources and I have things that I fall back on. I also have an incredible support community that I can call on. I have different supports for different areas of my life, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's a really super important part of it because if you're not supported in it,
Hmm.
you have to have a ton of self discipline
Yeah.
to hold yourself accountable. And that's not always easy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very hard. I think like having different mentors in your life, and it could be anything, it could be like, a friend that you constantly just play guitar with, or
Right.
somebody that you really just dwell problems on, like your own, I mean, it could be a therapist, it could be whatever, or like your own outlets on things, just where you like, where you really discuss those specific outlets with specific mentors or like specific coaches of your own. Because I feel like every great coach has a coach too, like I feel like every successful entrepreneur has like amazing people in their teams and they're not doing everything by themselves. And I think it's
Right.
completely okay to also be like, you know what? I don't know how to handle this. I absolutely have no idea. I just know it bugs me. I don't like it. I want it gone, but I don't know where to start. And I think
Right.
it goes back to your original point of being authentically so raw with yourself, of really speaking on, man, I suck at this. I suck at this so much and I don't know how to make it go away, but I need to look at that because I feel like, somebody that was on my podcast too, he said it, his name was Kelsey, and he said that when he started to, take his problems from Monday to Tuesday, and he rolled them over from Tuesday to Wednesday, and then he rolled them over from Wednesday to Thursday. By Sunday came, he had a full bucket of problems just because he was such an avoidant personality, not wanting to look at that, you
Right.
know. And so I think this kind of fits in here too, is like, the more you just push stuff away and the more you just really tell yourself, like, you know what, I don't know how, it's too expensive, it's too this, it's too that, I have no time, blah blah blah, you
Mm-hmm.
know. It could be like 5 minutes in your day where you just literally take 5 minutes out of your busy day and just seriously so intentionally dedicate that to yourself and just be like, you know
Right.
what, I'm just going to sit by myself in my car for 5 minutes,
Right.
or I'm gonna lock myself in the bathroom for 5 minutes and do not come out. I don't care
Right.
who wants what. Like it's these 5 minutes are mine.
Right.
And
A lot of times, I mean, for me, because I homeschool and I've got my family's around me all the time. A lot of times
right,
for me, that time is my shower, right? It's
yeah,
when I can sit and just be with my thoughts, uh,
right,
and my own energies, right? Not being surrounded by anybody helps bring you back to spiritual alignment. And I think something else you pointed to there that I have done a lot of work on is creating results and not creating excuses,
oh, okay,
right? It's results,
yeah,
not excuses. If you say I don't have enough time, that's
hmm,
an excuse. That is an excuse not to get the thing done. The everyone I heard this recently, everyone in the world for all time has had 24 hours in a day. Look at Da Vinci, Aristotle. I mean, some of these thought leaders that have shaped the foundations that we now operate from, right?
right,
They had the same amount of time as you do. What can you do to create a result in the time that you create an excuse? Right? And it doesn't have to be a big result, right? One small step forward in the direction of the end goal is a result. You're making forward momentum, you're making forward progress.
right. And I also think like just having the intention set,
Yeah.
I really want to do that. Even you didn't do anything yet. You didn't pick up the phone, you didn't find a resource, you didn't do anything, but you just told yourself, I'm gonna do it. Done.
Yep.
Like I will do this no matter what, and I will find a way. I feel like every big or small thing to me starts literally with an idea in your head, and it's like a light switch. And when you're ready, how long does it really take to put the light switch on so the light is on? That's like 1 second. But I feel like that walk to the light switch for some people, this takes years.
Right.
This takes months, years, decades, even sometimes. Do you
Yeah,
know what
I
I
mean,
mean?
it took years for me. I mean, we're talking about the proverbial light switch here, right?
Right.
You're talking about a complete mental flip-flop
Totally.
from everything that you have been taught by society and by the environment and every negative thing that's ever happened to you, right? It
Right.
requires the deep personal work to be able to flip that switch and know that you flipped the switch,
Right.
right?
Right. And
And
and that's
and
what
with that comes confidence.
that's why I loved when you said earlier rewriting the narrative.
Yeah.
That's why I loved when you said that, because literally this is what we sometimes forget. You can change your mind. You are allowed to. You are so allowed to just really say, you know what? I used to love apples my entire life, but you know what? I don't like them anymore. So don't buy them. Don't
Exactly.
don't buy the apples no more. That's fine. You can change your mind. Even if you said, you know what, I'm going to do that. You can all authentically, transparently go back and say, you know what, I actually thought about it. And I'm sorry, it just doesn't resonate with me anymore. I'm sorry I said yes to something, but really it doesn't fit me anymore. And just really standing in your truth of like, this is working or this isn't working. And actually, just because it has been done for so many years or months or decades doesn't mean that it has to continue.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's very powerful what
Very
you
much.
just pointed to, right?
Mm,
It's and it is heavy stuff that we're talking about here. So this stuff's not easy.
yeah.
I know I know for business owners, I see this too, right? And they like ask permission to change things. And I'm sitting in the back going, why are you asking permission? It's your company. Right? And it's the same thing with yourself. Don't ask permission from somebody, do it.
Yeah.
If it no longer aligns with who you are or who you want to show up to be, change it.
Mhm.
Nothing, and I think this is the important part, right? Nothing is ever set in stone. It can always be changed. And the ability to be fluid and adaptable to what's going on around you is a critical part of being able to flow through all of this.
Right. Yeah, I think that part, like, don't ask permission. Like, it's your birthright. Like, it's your own godly authority inside of you that really gives you exactly that right to just be like, you know what? I cannot anymore. Or the other way, I want to. I never said yes. I never said yes to wanting to explore the world, wanting to become an entrepreneur, wanting to start my business, wanting to just backpack through wherever country, globally, whatever, or eat a dish. Just that self strictness is really what I feel like holds us back so much from actually experiencing life. That self strictness, or like, the proper manners, or like, you know what I mean? It all it does, it just holds us so much back versus just saying, like, you know what? I'm just gonna try it.
Right.
What Okay, if I fail, I fail. But at least I knew I tried. Because for me, my biggest fear was always to look back and to say, man, I wish I would have. I
Mm,
just wish I would have. You know what I mean? And that to anything. Try a cocktail or try a trip or whatever. I rather chose to maybe fail at it and for things to really not go accordingly how I envisioned them, instead of being like, man, I wonder what would have happened. You
right.
know? Yeah.
Right. And I think that's a rabbit trail, right? If you start wondering about the what ifs, you're going to stay stuck.
Oh yeah.
For me, when I think about failure, I it's not failure for me anymore. It was an opportunity to learn
Hmm.
what doesn't work, right? I mean, Albert Einstein, he went through it, right? Everybody has you have to go through the trials and errors of life to figure out where you're actually supposed to wind up, right? And if you look at failures as failures, you're feeding yourself negativity. If you
Hmm.
look at it as an opportunity to learn, you're feeding into your growth and you're feeding into your alignment.
Hmm. I love that. Would you say, is it safe to say also then, maybe from your perspective, that if things do not work out the way we would wanted them to work out, like let's say we're trying to pull in this client, or trying to work at a company, or trying to change our home or whatever, and then it doesn't work out, is it safe to say in your world and in your belief system, the thought forms that you have today, that it's completely okay that it didn't work out? Maybe it's even
Yeah,
for the better.
right. I can't tell you how many times I wanted something to go a certain way and I got really upset when I didn't, right? I was like, I worked so hard, why didn't it work out, right? You beat up on yourself. Yet now I look back and I said, "Oh, if it had actually happened that way, I wouldn't be where I am because I wouldn't have had those doors open when or those windows open when the doors closed, right?" And and I think it circles back to, we kind of touched on it in the beginning, but the divine guidance that's coming in
Hmm.
and really showing you the way, even if
Hmm.
you don't know it's showing you the way, right?
Yeah, right.
And trusting the process and trusting that it's all going to work out
Hmm.
because most of the time it does,
Right. And
right?
that is so interesting, because really, no matter who you really talk to, and people can test this for themselves, just ask anybody in your circle about exactly one example. Hey, when you whatever, what was the biggest thing you wanted and it didn't happen for you? Okay,
Mhm.
but what is it now? Was it a good thing that it didn't happen? Like, I promise at least 10 from like 20 will probably say, I'm so glad it actually did not work out because, and so, but that's so interesting that in that moment, we don't see it that way. We don't switch so fast mentally, emotionally, spiritually to be like, okay, this is a blessing. Yeah, I'm just moving on. My dream just bursted, but sure, it's going to be okay.
Right. And I
In
think,
that moment.
it's you're pointing to what I call mental gymnastics.
Okay.
In gymnastics, they train and they train and they train so hard, and then it
Right.
comes easy, right?
Right. Yeah.
So for me, a lot of what we're talking about here, it was mental gymnastics. I have now
Mhm.
trained and practiced in these areas so hard that I am able to flip the switch very quickly and say, okay,
Mhm.
this is the better opportunity, right?
Yeah.
And looking at it from a 30,000-foot view on if I go, you know, this path, what is it going to open up for me? Right. And I think having your goals clearly defined and even spoken out loud,
Mhm.
because what you speak about comes about, right?
Right.
Um, that helps guide the path, right?
Mhm. Yeah, it's almost like you claiming it the same way you
Right.
claiming negative things. When people say, "Oh, they couldn't make it because all of a sudden they got sick," but really they didn't get sick, but it sounds like a reasonable explanation not to make it to an event or whatever. I really always refrain from that because again, it's really what you speak out will actually fundamentally come to you in some way or the other. So, it's with the good and the bad things. I feel like really verbiage is imperative, like
Right.
you communicating to yourself, to people, to the universe is so crucial of you choosing the words. Like for instance, I would never say I don't want to have any problems. I rather say I am problem free, right?
Right.
It's just rephrasing certain things in our verbiage that we don't really claim certain things on us that we actually really don't want. So I almost trained myself and I'm almost mastered it, but to not even speak out the things anymore that I don't want, but rather just speak the other side, And sometimes I'm
Right.
sitting there thinking before I say something, I'm like, let me put it together before I actually speak it out, because
Right.
I do agree with the whole, what you really speak out has so much power, like the Bible talks about that too, right? Like your tongue has death and power abilities. And so it's crucial to really consciously speak.
Right.
Hmm.
Right. It's really important. And I love what you said about reframing. I know I try and train people, right? There, some people are, they're resistant to change, and that's the homeostasis speaking. To I will say this: if your homeostasis is keeping you from even trying anything,
Right.
keep trying, because eventually it will break,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
And then you'll feel massive amounts of relief and freedom and,
Empowerment too, right? Like
power, right?
yeah. Yeah.
Right. But reframing is really critical. I love that you said that you don't speak out the negative anymore. I love that. For me, when I have to speak out negative, I
Mm-hmm.
reframe it to be more positive,
Hmm.
right? So it's not, I don't want X to happen, right? It's, let's make Y happen instead.
Instead, right. So
Right.
again, solution oriented verbiage also, yeah?
Right.
Right.
Yes. Yes. Even if it's,
Hmm.
even if it's incorporating something negative, you
Yeah.
can still find a way to reframe it to be a positive and create an opportunity and maintain an air of positivity around you, because that's going to elevate you rather
Hmm.
than speaking out the negatives and being around negativity. That's just going to drag you down.
Right. And
Right.
I mean, I do want to add here, that I feel we need both aspects in life, right? We need
Yeah.
darkness, we need light, we need negativity as much as we need positivity. But I think really when what we're really referring here to is really like just how we choose to speak certain things or about certain scenarios, because I feel like there's no point of dwelling on something negative and speaking death towards something that is already happening that is negative, but versus then choosing light path to throw kind of like a white blanket on whatever is happening, and so just kind of like moving on from that. So, but yeah, but I know that you several times we kind of here and there a little bit talked about your clients. Is it okay if you share a little bit what you actually do with your clients? Like if somebody is choosing to work with you, like what is your ideal client, or like who is really somebody that, you kind of like I don't know, transform?
Yeah, I'd be happy to share it. So let me ask you this. Do you know how superheroes have sidekicks?
Yes.
Yeah, that's me.
Okay.
So my company helps mission-driven, heart-centered coaches, creatives, speakers, visionaries stay in their genius and stay in
Mm.
their genius without stressing over the details, stay in the genius without burnout, without anxiety, without overwhelm, right? All of these critical pieces that are dragging, especially small business owners that are solopreneurs, right?
Right.
From burning out, from flaming out, right? Is I don't know if you know the statistic, but 84% of small businesses fail within the first 5 years.
Wow. Yeah.
And that is
Pretty
a
hard.
staggering number when you think about how many small businesses are out there,
Yeah.
right? So it's whether you're looking for group coaching, we have the Startup to Six Figures Plus Academy. We have done for you services where we cover we do virtual event production, but we also cover all main areas of business, right? Operations, production, finance, administration, HR. Um, or if you want to go really deep, I am a fractional director of operations, right?
Mm.
So that this is high level support to run your team, to run your company and scale with ease. All of these things, we're there for you to take care of things behind the scenes. Because behind the scenes gets chaotic. It is
Right.
so chaotic.
Right.
Uh, and you can't grow fast, you can't work smart, you can't actually enjoy your business, and oftentimes you lose the passion and the reason why you even started the business in the first place,
Because it gets
right?
overwhelming.
It's overwhelming, you're stuck in you're mired in all the details of everything,
Right.
when that is not what you're truly there for, right? It's you are there because your zone of genius, the thing that you love to do that only you can do, needs to be out in the world. Message needs to be shared, right? So
Right.
typically, if you're craving structure, you're craving support, a little breathing room, that's where we come in.
Oh, that's so wonderful. Would it be okay if I share your website link or maybe even your calendar link in the show notes?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. This was such a wonderful conversation, Desi. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you for dropping so many wonderful golden nuggets and being so authentic about your own journey too. Because it's sometimes it can be blinding, seeing a successful person, we don't really think that they're struggling with anything because from the outside they have it all together,
Oh
you
yeah,
know?
it's that facade.
Yeah. And
Every entrepreneur wants to put on a facade, and I say don't do it. Just show up and
yeah.
be you and be willing to learn and absorb what's around you.
Exactly. So I'm grateful that you are really not only talking what you're saying, but you're doing what you're saying. Like you kind of like you're matching your words, absolutely matching your movements. And so I'm so grateful that we, have met and that we had so many personal conversations. And I'm, kind of excited to have more. But I'm grateful that you've been my guest today here. And thank you so much.
It is absolutely my pleasure. And it was a fantastic conversation. And I think it's a topic that people need to hear because a lot
Agreed.
of times they're afraid to voice it.
Agreed, agreed. And this is why I'm so grateful that, somebody really successful that really knows what they're talking about, specifically in that aspect, would really speak on that because this is really what we want. We don't want to read out of a book. We want real life examples of somebody that knows what they're speaking about and therefore incorporated this part also in her own business,
Right.
because we learn the best and we teach the best if it actually happened to ourselves. That's when we become very good teachers.
Yes. Yes, we do.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And you said something at the beginning too, Jana. Um, the best coaches are the coaches that have coaches.
that's right.
It's so true. I have 7 right now.
Yeah, I have 4, so I get it.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
you gotta have I mean, it's all different areas, right?
same.
Just different
Yeah,
coaches for everything. But
same,
you know,
same.
I think it's really important to continue growth.
Absolutely, because this is what we do here for each other. Like, listen, what I know, yes, I know it well, yet this doesn't mean that I know it all. With one conversation can change somebody's life. One
Right.
sentence that you probably said today, hopefully, when whoever hears this, will change their mindset about one something small. Small, little doesn't matter. And so we all give this to each other. We can have a growth conversation with somebody standing in the grocery line. You never
Yeah.
know. You never know who you meet. You never know what that person is been maybe sent by the universe exactly in that moment into your life to say that one thing that maybe your wife, your husband, your best friend tells you since years, but you're meeting this one person in the grocery line or in the doctor's office or in the wherever. And this
Right.
person says the one thing where you're like, oh my God, a stranger just changed my life.
Right.
And so this is exactly what life really to me is about, and why I'm so blessed and so grateful to meet with people like you. They are so authentic and open and just come and share without any I'm gatekeeping, I'm afraid to say how it's going to make me look, how the
That's silly. One thing that I would end on, and I think this is a really important point. If you're feeling it, if
Mm,
you're feeling overwhelm or yeah, that's me, after all of this, it means you care, okay? And
yeah,
it also means you're about to grow.
right. Well,
Okay?
podcast lovers, another great one. As always, if you have something to share, if there's anything on your heart, my mic is always open for you. Come and join this movement of R&R, Resilience and Rebirth. This is a verbal safe space where anybody's free to share whatever they're going through. Small, little, fancy, not fancy, happy, no happy, it doesn't matter. But until then, stay rooted, stay grounded, and always stay connected to love, the strongest force in the universe.